right, in this video, I'm going to be talking about the movie Smile and its Blu-ray from Fun City Editions. Smile is a 1975 comedy directed by Michael Ritchie, and it stars Bruce Dern, Barbara Feldon, Geoffrey Lewis, Michael Kidd, Nicholas Pryor, Joan Prather, Melanie Griffith, Annette O'Toole, Colleen Camp, Eric Shea, and more. Smile is a satirical look at the behind-the-scenes goings-on of a regional beauty pageant. So we talked about Jeremy, and that was a blind buy from Fun City Editions, and Smile ended up being a blind buy because of the exact same reason. So many people were talking it up, and I thought, you know, should I go for two? Let's do it. And I did not regret it. Smile is great. It's funny. The girls are great. The adults are great. It's just a very enjoyable satirical look at a very specific time in American culture that honestly still echoes throughout the decades, and there's still very much like the same kinds of things going on. It's wrapped up in a different package, but it's the same kinds of things happening, you know, and that satirical lens that Michael Ritchie is looking at it through could be applied today to a lot of different things. It's crazy to look at this film now from my perspective and see you've got very early appearances from Colleen Camp, who was in Apocalypse Now, Valley Girl, lots of stuff over the past like couple of decades. You've got one of the very first appearances, I think, of Melanie Griffith before she became like an absolute 80s like superstar. You've got Annette O'Toole, Joan Prather, and the cherry on top is a fantastic performance by Bruce Dern. Easily one of his best from that era, and maybe just one of his best in general. There's a lot of things to love about this film. I love the setup of the pageant contestants at the very beginning at the airport. I love Bruce Dern as Big Bob, and sort of the way that he, I think, represented a lot of Americans at that time, where it was like they had money to spend and they had nothing to spend it on except trinkety junk. You know, it's like you go into Big Bob's house and he has all this like trinkety junk. And that seems like so like 1970s to me. You know, it's just like, I'm wealthy, but like that wealth doesn't really buy me anything. You know, it just buys all these like modern conveniences. And like he comes home and his wife is just like laying in front of the TV, like eyes wide, you know, she's just like entranced by this thing. And it's like, he's living the American dream, but at the same time, you can tell there's something like missing there. Bob is missing something. And it's like, as the film goes on, he realizes more and more that he's missing something. When the film starts, he's just Big Bob. You know, it's like everything's going great. He's on top of the world. And as things go along and things start happening, it's like he gets that, he's sort of slowly getting that realization of like, oh, America is not what I thought it was. There's something missing. And his buddy Andy, who's played by Nicholas Pryor, is married to a woman named Brenda, played by Barbara Feldon. And Brenda is basically the female version of Big Bob. And Andy is essentially the antithesis of Big Bob. It's like he's the guy who does understand that something is missing. He's working his middle-class job and he's helping out with the pageant and he's doing all this stuff and he's eating his TV dinners, and it's just not enough. Like there's not enough. He's part of the like the men's group or men's club, whatever that is. And he's like, you know, he just sees the emptiness of it all. And that sort of like seeps into Big Bob's character as the film progresses. And it's kind of interesting because you also have a parallel with Joan Prather's character. She, I would say, is kind of like the lead. If there is a lead pageant contestant, I would say that it's probably her. And she is like so innocent. I don't even think she truly understands that like people are there to win. She's just sort of there just to do the thing, just to experience it. And even when she realizes that the person that she's partnered up with, who's played by Annette O'Toole, is sort of manipulating her and is playing this game that all these other women are playing, to try and sort of like, get the upper hand and be the person who gets into that final category and eventually wins. It's like, you can see like every time that she sees the gears turning, she's like, oh, this is what we're doing, and she takes a step back from it. By the time it's over, she's like, I'm good. Thank you. I'm good. And I have to say, like, the way that these characters evolve over the course of the film, that was one of my favorite parts of it. Obviously, it's funny and it can be sexy and all these things, but I just loved the way that Michael Ritchie worked with, Bruce Dern and Joan Prather to sort of take these sort of like typical Americans and have them sort of realize that it's all a show. It's all a show. And it's just like, it's fantastic. I highly recommend Smile. One quick note that I wanted to point out is there's a point where Bob tells Andy this story about getting set up to go out on a date with Elizabeth Taylor. And that to me is like the high point of the whole film when he tells that story. The way he tells it, the look on his face, the emotions that he gives as he's telling it, the way that they change. He's putting in the work on that scene. There's been a lot of times where I've seen him do some truly great, acting. And I think he does some great acting in this whole film, but that Elizabeth Taylor scene is just like perfect. It's perfect. And it's so like, it just hit me in the right way, It's great. It's fantastic. I would almost go so far as to say watch Smile just for that scene alone. The whole movie is fantastic, but that scene in particular is just like amazing. There's also, this is sort of not really related at all and sort of random, but there's also the way that just the girls interact with each other, I thought was great. And there's a point where Melanie Griffith and I want to say it's Colleen Camp sort of like start planning to sabotage this one girl's like talent show thing.
Last night she gave her host parents a piñata. I'm gonna get her. You want me to help? Yeah. We'll do it as soon as we're sure we've lost.
What happened?
The way that sort of stacks up over time is just really funny. When they're actually doing the talent show, the end result of it shows itself. It's pretty great. It was funny too, seeing the audience reaction, because they brought in like an actual audience for all of the like talent show stuff. They actually put on a real beauty pageant effectively. And it's just funny to see their reactions to some of the like ridiculous, just absolutely ridiculous stuff that they were doing in this pageant. So yeah, Smile, again, cannot recommend it highly enough. We'll talk about some of the Blu-ray features here real quick. I have not been able to say anything negative about Jeremy And I can't say anything negative about the Blu-ray for Smile. The image quality looks fantastic. It says new 2K restoration from 35mm interpositive. There's a really good interview with Bruce Dern that's probably about half an hour, 40 minutes, somewhere in that range. And like, just listening to that dude talk, I mean, that's worth, getting this by itself. Theatrical trailer, image gallery. The image gallery, again, is great. Like, not a huge image gallery person, but they did a great job of pulling together, publicity stills, alternate poster artwork, on-set photography. It's just a lot of really good stuff. Essay by film historian Mike Bupadden, that's really good. The commentary with Pat Healy, actor Pat Healy, and his brother, film curator Jim Healy, I enjoyed the heck out of. Those two guys bring a lot of context to the film, to both the time that it was being made in, the people who are making it, and just what's going on in general. And to be perfectly honest with you, like, I could sit there and listen to them talk, for 2 hours or whatever about just about any film. I thought they were a really fantastic duo, and I really enjoyed the sort of like dual commentaries on these Fun City Edition discs, where it's like they're bringing in two people to talk about it at the same time. It's not like it's being recorded separately. Like, they are having a conversation with each other, talking about the film. And I really enjoyed the one on Jeremy, and I really enjoyed this one on Smile as well. That's the inside of it with the Blu-ray and the booklet. Wrong finger. I'm like, and the booklet. And you do get reversible artwork, which the artwork on this is actually, the original artwork is actually really awesome. I love that poster, but I love the contemporary stuff that they've done for these. All of the Fun City Edition Blu-rays that I've seen so far, the artwork on them is just fantastic. I love it, and that's part of the reason. I mean, it's a lesser reason, but that's part of the reason why I bought these. Is just the presentation is so good, the special features are so good, the movies look fantastic, and it's just, to me, it's really worth spending the money. So I am joyously singing the praises of Fun City Editions. There's a lot of these boutique Blu-ray places that are doing a great job, but one of the things I think that I like about Fun City is the fact that they are being, they seem to be being kind of particular in what they're picking, and they're not just trying to push movies out. I mean, they've been operating for like probably a year or two now, and they've got like, I think as of the recording of this video, they have maybe like 5 titles out, 4 or 5. So, not many. And I think I said this in the Jeremy one, but the slip covers are beautiful, made of like heavier cardstock than, your Kino Lorbers or your, Studio or your Shout Factory, ones are. And the whole thing just feels like, you're buying something that somebody like really made an effort and like made you something beautiful and is selling it to you for a very reasonable price. So yeah, I love the film. I highly recommend that you see it any way that you can, but if you can, buy the Fun City Edition Blu-ray. So, all right, that's it for this movie review and Blu-ray review, and I will see you in the next one.